Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons with Cheri. This week, we are already on episode number 8, and I wanted to talk to you about a reflection that I had over the weekend in regard to my journey as a leader. What you don't know is that when I was about 10 years old, I started dabbling with running. I enjoyed it. I could do it pretty okay. And I found that it was one of those things that I could do by myself because it gave me an opportunity to just kind of get out of the chaos that was going on in my world and just go out and run. Now, as I was growing up, I did run track in middle school and high school for a little bit. And I was pretty quick, but I wasn't the fastest. And I never thought about long distance running, to be honest. Now, when I first got started with running, I would run around the block a few times in my neighborhood, but never anything that would amount to something really big. I liked just running short, fast distances. And I could beat the neighborhood kids. And so that made me feel good, right? It kind of boosted my ego. But as I got into middle school and high school and got onto the track team, I knew that in order to get faster, I would have to build my endurance. And so I remember this, I'll never forget. I tried running 1 mile one day. Just decided I would go to the track. I was often by myself, at home. My parents weren't always there. And I went to the track and I just tried it. And I couldn't do the whole mile. And at that point in time, I think it was maybe a freshman, sophomore in high school. And I thought, no, this is awful. This is miserable. I'm not even going to do this. And so I didn't. Well, I had always had the goal of becoming a PE teacher. I knew that when I was 6 years old. I knew that there was a purpose why I wanted to. I wanted to teach children how to live healthy lives so that we could start to combat obesity. And as I started college, I had to take a physical fitness course. And they wanted us to go through the course as if we were teaching the course to others. And so they required us to run a mile. And what they required was that we did it in 10 minutes. And I couldn't do it. I honestly couldn't do it when we started. And I was in pretty okay shape. I rode my bike a lot. I played softball. I was active, but I just couldn't do it. And I think a lot of it was in my head. And stay with me on this story because there's really a purpose for this week. But I remember when I finally got to that point where I could do a 10-minute mile. Ironically, I was already pregnant with my daughter when it happened, but nonetheless, I remember the point when I could do it. And I remember feeling like I had accomplished something pretty major in my life. It was something that I actually had been thinking about since I was a freshman or a sophomore in high school. So at least 4 to 5 years. And once I did it, I don't know if I really felt at that moment that I needed to do it again, but I knew that I had hit that milestone. Fast forward to 2005, I was up early on a Sunday morning in January, and I couldn't sleep. So I'm on the couch and I'm flipping through channels, and I come across the Houston Marathon on TV. And in the moment, it made me think, I need to go back to running. It was something about the accomplishment on the faces of the people when you saw them cross the finish line. Now, they televised both the half and the full marathon, and you see the winners and you see the people that it takes a normal amount of time to come across the finish line. You also see the people out there struggling, and you can see the determination. You can see the motivation they have. You can even see along the course people supporting others, building them up rather than judging them, especially for those that are a little bit slower. And something about that day sparked that in me. Now, let me tell you, my personal life was in a challenging place at the time. I had just gotten my second assistant principal position, and the principal that I was working under, ironically, was removed 1 month later, 1 month to the day. And he was removed for doing all kinds of horrible things at the school. And I was brought in with him at the time. And I felt like, truly, personally, that maybe I had been placed there because I didn't interview. I'd just been placed there so that I would get frustrated and eventually leave my position. Little did I know that once he was removed, they were grooming me to move into that position as the principal. So I got back to my running journey at the same time that I really started my leadership journey, my official leadership journey. And that's what I want to talk to you about this week on this week's episode of Leadership Lessons with Cheri. And that is how running taught me so much about leadership. So having that long story to start, let's get started with this week's information. As I mentioned, when I was watching that first marathon on TV, I had never seen one before. Honestly, I grew up in a small town. We didn't have anything like that. I knew people who were long distance runners. My best friend in high school was one, but they would go out to the country club. They'd run the golf course. It was a few miles. It wasn't anything that was televised or anything like that. And when I saw that, and I saw, as I mentioned, the determination, the motivation, the processes that people were going through emotionally as they were crossing that finish line, I started to really think about my journey in leadership. I was in a pretty diverse community, and it took me a minute as a woman to get a position, and I was young. I was in my early 30s at the time. So most principals were a bit older than me. Not all, but most. And the process of going through interviews and having to change districts and having to put in the time as an assistant principal and having to prove myself and get there, it was challenging. But I had that determination and I had that motivation that I knew getting the principal seat was the goal. I wasn't going to give up on that. And when I decided on that January day that I was going to run the half marathon the following year, because I knew my time limits, my commitment time just couldn't afford me to do a full marathon training. I had that same motivation and determination, and I started to set goals along the way. And in turn, as I started to accomplish my personal goals with running, I was able to start setting goals in my professional life that were attainable, and I would stay motivated to them. And even on the days where I would doubt, maybe something would happen and I would start to think, maybe this isn't going to happen for me after all. I started to develop this skill of grit and perseverance when it was super hard, right? And so I was able to keep moving forward, even when I was facing that doubt. The other thing I think running had really done for me as a leader is it helped me to put life into perspective. When I first became a principal, for example, everything was about right now. Hurry, 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 my patience level. It probably was because I was in my early 30s. It probably was because maybe I wasn't 100% mature yet. I don't know, looking back on it now. But it was kind of that hustle mentality. I wanted things to be able to change. I wanted things to be able to be the way they needed to be, and I wanted it to happen now. And I had to learn that life isn't all about my own timeline. It's about doing the hard work. It's about putting in the time. It's about meeting the milestones along the way to be able to get to the goal. And that's what running taught me. There was no way that I was going to, my very first time to go out for a run, do that mile, right? As I mentioned before, because I wasn't there yet. And it even took me a few years to get back to that 10-minute mile. And I think I actually ended up being at like 10, 15 something, because I was older. I'm not real tall. I'm pretty short, and I don't have the runner's body. I'm a little thicker. And so it just wasn't doable for me. And I had to accept that, but I had to accepted in a way that didn't provide me with an excuse. Oh, I'll never get there. Let me see how far I can get. And that translated into the work I did as a leader, because it started to teach me patience. And it started to teach me to realize that maybe we're not going to get here. Maybe it's going to be here, but we're going to put in all the effort as if we're attaining that main goal. I think above all else, though, running taught me that life is hard. Work is hard. Leadership is not easy. Sure, it's something that I loved. Sure, it was very rewarding. It was a calling. When I would see teachers do their very best work, when I would see their hard work translate into student success, there's nothing like that. But it also taught me that sometimes, in order to be our best at work, in order to do our best for others, we have to do what's best for us. We have to take care of our bodies. We have to feed what is in us. We have to nurture our strengths and build on our weaknesses. And we have to take a moment to do what makes us happy, to enjoy life. When I get out on the roads running, I truly can let go of all of the stresses in my life. Not maybe the first 20 steps or even the first mile sometimes. Sometimes it takes breaking myself down at mile 5, 6, 7 to really go, okay, now I can enjoy this. But it happens. And then I feel good. And I feel like I've done something for me. And when it's all said and done, it helps me to fill my cup, so to speak. So that then when it's time to go back and do that hard work of being a leader, of empowering others, of building people up, of taking care of all of the things, of delegating, of processing, problem solving, all the things, all the thoughts that go into it, I'm stronger because I'm whole again. And that's because of the work that I do physically to help build my body back up, to help let me deplete, get rid of all the junk, and take in all of the good. So once again, I've been a runner since I was a young child. Some years were better than others. Never been fast, never won a half marathon, probably never, well, actually, I know I never will. And my goals have shifted as I've gotten older. This year, my goal is just to run it and finish it. I have a knee situation going on, and I haven't been running as much this year as I have in the past. So I'm kind of rebuilding from zero. But remembering my processes for training, remembering how it helped develop me personally and professionally, makes me know that I'm going to keep doing what I love personally, and it will continue to have an impact on what I do professionally. I know it will. Now, I'm not telling you today you have to go out and be a runner, but I am telling you this. As you develop and grow as a leader, I want you to think about the things in life that make you happy, the things in life that have taught you the biggest lessons. They may not be professional experiences, and that's okay, because we're whole people, right? And everything that we do in life has an effect on who we are. We get caught up sometimes as the leader, as the boss, as the person in charge, as the whatever, of thinking that that's the only person we can be. Or if we're not giving 100% to that, then we're not right. We're doing something wrong. I don't want to just help you build your leadership skills. I want to help you to understand you are a person. You have needs. Professionally, yes, you have responsibilities, but you have personal needs too. And it's okay to have a balance of some kind. It's never going to be 50-50, but of some kind. And if you get an opportunity to find something such as running what is to me that helps light you up, that you know fills your cup and makes you a better leader, hang on to that. Don't get rid of it, because it's part of who you are. It's part of what makes you unique, and actually probably part of what makes you successful. All right, those are my thoughts for this week. Hopefully it made some sense. I went out for a hot, steamy run this morning. Again, building back up for half marathon number 12, which will be coming in January of 2024, and looking forward to it. And as I've been building, the knee's been holding up, so that's good news. But most importantly, it's something that makes me happy, something that keeps me on course, and something that I'm going to continue to do for as long as the universe lets me. Have a great week, y'all. I hope that you enjoyed this week's session. I hope that it gave you just one little piece of something that you can use in your own lives on your journey as a leader. I'll see you next week right here on Leadership Lessons with Cheri.